The bright lights of the control room dimmed as the U.S. Defiant approached the wormhole. Captain Alan Russell stood tall, his eyes fixed on the swirling blue mass ahead. This was their mission: to explore the first stable wormhole ever discovered by humans. No one knew what lay on the other side. "All systems ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Olivia Grant. Her voice was steady, but her knuckles were white as she gripped the edge of the tactical console. Captain Russell nodded. "Proceed with approach. Keep recording everything." The Defiant was the pride of Earth's fleet. Built with the latest technology, it carried 157 crew members on this historic mission. Its sleek hull glinted in the strange light of the wormhole as they drew closer. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns," said Chief Science Officer Peter Douglas. His fingers flew across the screen as he analyzed the data. "This doesn't match our predictions." Russell frowned. "Can we still proceed safely?" "Yes, sir. The ship can handle it," Douglas replied, though uncertainty crept into his voice. Russell made his decision. "Continue approach. This is what we came for." The ship hummed as it entered the outer edge of the wormhole. Strange lights danced across the hull. The crew watched in wonder as reality seemed to bend around them. Then everything went wrong. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights flashed. The Defiant shuddered violently. "We're losing engine control," shouted Chief Engineer John Winters from his station. "Power fluctuations across all decks." "Pull us out," ordered Russell, his calm voice cutting through the chaos. "I can't, sir. Something's got us," Winters yelled back. Lieutenant Commander Grant rushed to the weapons station. "Unknown energy field is surrounding the ship. It's pulling us deeper." Captain Russell hit the ship-wide comm. "All hands, brace for impact." "Repeat, all hands brace for impact." The Defiant lurched forward, drawn into the heart of the wormhole by forces they couldn't understand. The last thing anyone on Earth heard was Olivia Grant's final transmission. "This is U.S. Defiant. We are being pulled in by unknown forces. We air." Then nothing but static. Back on Earth, the loss of the Defiant sent shockwaves through the Space Defense Initiative. Search teams were dispatched immediately. For 6 months, they scoured the region where the wormhole had been, but found nothing. The wormhole itself had vanished without a trace. In a small office at SDI headquarters, Dr. Samantha Russell refused to accept the official report. Her husband and his crew weren't dead. She could feel it in her bones. They couldn't have just disappeared, she told Admiral Frank Peterson. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her voice was determined. The Admiral sighed. "Samantha, we've searched everywhere. There's nothing left. Not even debris. We have to declare them lost with all hands." "Then I'll find them myself," she said. "I'll dedicate my research to understanding what happened." That wormhole wasn't a natural phenomenon. Someone created it. As months turned to years, Dr. Russell's research became her life's work. She studied wormhole theory, developed new sensor technology, and scanned the stars for any sign of the Defiant. Most thought she was wasting her time, driven by grief rather than science. But Samantha Russell never gave up. What no one on Earth knew was that at that very moment, across the galaxy, the Defiant was emerging from the wormhole. Its hull was scorched and battered, but intact. Captain Russell picked himself up from the floor of the bridge, helping injured crew members to their stations. Through the view screen, they saw strange stars and an alien sky, and surrounding them, a dozen ships of unknown design, their weapons trained on the human vessel. The Defiant had returned to space, but not to home. Their journey was just beginning. The sun rose over New Washington, Earth's capital city. Tall buildings reached toward the sky, their surfaces gleaming with solar panels. Air cars zipped between them, carrying people to work. The year was 2253, and humanity had spread throughout the solar system and beyond. In a large office at the top of the Defense Command building, Admiral William Carter stared at the report on his screen. He rubbed his tired eyes and read it again. An unknown ship at the edge of the Ta City colony. And you're saying it has human markings? He asked the woman on the video call. Colonel Maya Patterson nodded. Her image flickered slightly from the delay between star systems. Yes, sir. It appeared out of nowhere 3 days ago. Our scans show it's definitely built with human technology, but there are additions we don't recognize. Admiral Carter frowned. Any contact? None, sir. It's just sitting there, not responding to hails. But it hasn't made any aggressive moves either. Keep monitoring it. I'm sending reinforcements. Don't approach until they arrive. After ending the call, Carter walked to the window and looked out at the city. Humanity had come far in the last century. They had colonies on Mars, Europa, and several planets around nearby stars. But they still had much to learn about the galaxy. Across the city, Dr. Eliza Russell Martinez entered her lab at the Defense Research Division. At 42, she was the youngest person ever to lead the division. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her lab coat had seen better days. Morning, Dr. Russell Martinez, said her assistant, Andy Kim. The new sensor data from Ta City came in overnight. Eliza took the data pad. Thanks, Andy. Let's see what we've got. She studied the readings, her eyes widening. This can't be right. These energy signatures, they match the theoretical models in my great-grandmother's research. Your great-grandmother? Andy asked. Dr. Samantha Russell. She spent her life studying the disappearance of a ship called the Defiant. She believed it wasn't destroyed but transported somewhere else. Eliza's fingers moved quickly across the screen. These readings match her predictions exactly. Before she could investigate further, alarms sounded throughout the building. Red emergency lights flashed in the hallways. What's happening? Andy asked, fear in his voice. Eliza rushed to her terminal. Checking now. Oh no. The main screen in the lab switched to a news broadcast. A reporter spoke urgently as images showed massive ships appearing near the outer colony of New Eden. Breaking news. Unknown vessels have appeared near New Eden colony. They've issued demands for human surrender, claiming ownership of all territory in the galaxy. They identify themselves as the Vrax Empire. The screen showed beam weapons firing from the alien ships. Buildings on New Eden exploded. People ran screaming through streets as shadows of the huge ships passed overhead. They're killing everyone, Andy whispered. Eliza's phone rang. It was Admiral Carter. Russell Martinez, get to command now. We need your expertise. Within an hour, Earth's Defense Council gathered in the crisis room. Military officers, politicians, and scientists watched in horror as reports came in. New Eden has fallen, General Linda Summers announced. Casualty estimates are at 90% of the colony population. The Vrax fleet has already moved on toward the Proxima system. What do we know about these Vrax? Asked President Garcia. Admiral Carter stood. Almost nothing. We've never encountered them before. Their technology far exceeds ours. Our weapons barely damage their smallest ships. They say the galaxy is theirs by right, added an intelligence officer. They consider us trespassers. Dr. Russell Martinez studied the ship designs on the screen. Something about them seemed oddly familiar, like she had seen them in old research notes. We need to evacuate the outer colonies, the president decided. Bring our fleet back to defend the core systems. As they debated strategy, a new alert sounded. A junior officer rushed in and whispered to Admiral Carter. The admiral's face changed. The unknown ship at Ta City is moving. It's heading straight for Jupiter Command at incredible speed. Another enemy? Someone asked. I don't know, Carter replied. But it's broadcasting an old Earth military ID signal. It's identifying itself as the U.S. Defiant. Jupiter Command was on high alert. Warships formed a defensive line around the massive space station that served as humanity's outer system headquarters. All weapons were aimed at the approaching vessel. Any response to our hails? Admiral Carter asked as he entered the command center. Yes, sir, replied Communications Officer Lisa Wong. They're sending audio only. And, sir, they're using communication protocols that haven't been used in over a century. Carter nodded. Put it through. A man's voice filled the room. It sounded calm and confident. This is Captain Alan Russell of the U.S. Defiant, requesting permission to dock. We have vital information about the Vrax threat. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the story of the Defiant, the famous lost ship from the history books. This is impossible, whispered General Summers. The Defiant disappeared over 100 years ago. Admiral Carter leaned toward the microphone. This is Admiral William Carter. Your claim is difficult to believe. The Defiant was lost in 2147. I understand your skepticism, Admiral, Captain Russell replied. From our perspective, we've been gone only 15 years. We have much to explain, but time is short. The Vrax are coming. Carter looked at his officers. Most appeared doubtful, but they needed any help they could get against the Vrax. Permission granted, Carter finally said. But you'll dock at the outer ring under heavy guard. 3 hours later, Carter and Dr. Russell Martins watched through security glass as the airlock opened. They gasped at what they saw. Captain Alan Russell walked through the door, looking no more than a decade older than his file photos from 2147. Behind him came his second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Olivia Grant, and several other human crew members. But there were others too, beings that were clearly not human. One had blue-tinted skin and eyes that glowed slightly. Another was tall and thin with 4 arms. A third looked almost human except for the ridge of small spines along its scalp. Aliens, whispered Dr. Russell Martinez. They have aliens on their crew. Captain Russell stopped before the security glass and saluted. Thank you for allowing us to dock, Admiral. We come as friends and allies. The group was escorted to a conference room under heavy guard. Carter and Russell Martinez sat across from the Defiant's crew, still processing what they were seeing. You understand why we find this hard to believe, Carter said. The Defiant vanished over a century ago. Russell nodded. The wormhole we entered wasn't natural. It was created by the Sovar, he gestured to the blue-skinned alien, as a way to escape Vrax territory. We were pulled through by accident. Where did you go? Asked Dr. Russell Martinez. A region of space far from here, where time flows differently, Russell explained. For every year there, 7 or 8 pass here. We've spent 15 years fighting alongside a coalition of species against the Vrax Empire. The blue alien stepped forward. I am Science Director Azira of the Sovar Collective. Captain Russell and his crew saved many of my people from a Vrax attack. They have been valuable allies. Russell continued. The Defiant was damaged when we came through the wormhole. The Sovar and other species helped us repair and upgrade our ship. In return, we joined their fight against the Vrax. How did you get back? Carter asked. Lieutenant Commander Grant spoke up. We discovered another wormhole network. We recognized one of the exit points as being near human space. We came as soon as we could, Russell added. The Vrax have conquered 2/3 of the galaxy. They wipe out any civilization they consider a threat to their dominance. Dr. Russell Martins studied Captain Russell's face. You're really him, aren't you? Alan Russell. My great-grandmother never stopped believing you were alive somewhere. Russell's expression softened. Samantha. She was your great-grandmother. Yes, she dedicated her life to finding you. Admiral Carter cleared his throat. Captain, if what you're saying is true, we need your help. The Vrax fleet heading toward Earth outmatches our defenses many times over. Russell nodded grimly. That's why we're here. The Defiant has been modified with technology from several advanced species, and we know the Vrax, their tactics, their weaknesses. He stood up straight, determination in his eyes. We've fought them for 15 years. We won't let them take Earth. The Defiant stands ready to defend humanity. The Earth Defense Council gathered in the large meeting room at Jupiter Command. 20 men and women sat around a circular table, their faces serious. At the center of the room stood Captain Russell and his mixed crew of humans and aliens. "How do we know we can trust them?" asked Defense Minister Helen Ward. She stared at the blue-skinned Sover with suspicion. "This could be a trick." Admiral Carter sighed. "We've confirmed Captain Russell's identity through DNA testing. He is who he claims to be." Dr. Russell Martins nodded. "I ran the tests myself. He's definitely Alan Russell, the same man who disappeared with the Defiant over a century ago." "That doesn't mean they haven't been compromised," argued General Summers. "They'd been with aliens for 15 years. Their loyalties may have changed." Captain Russell stepped forward. "My loyalty has always been to Earth and humanity. That hasn't changed, but I've learned that we're not alone in this fight. The Vraks are a threat to all life in the galaxy." Lieutenant Commander Grant stood beside her captain. "We've fought alongside these people for years. They've saved our lives many times. We vouch for them with our lives." The room fell quiet. Then Russell gestured to his alien crew members. "Allow me to introduce our allies. This is Science Director Azura of the Sover. Their species are masters of quantum physics and wormhole technology." The blue-skinned alien bowed slightly. "This is Chief Engineer Xel," Russell continued, pointing to the four-armed alien. "The Xilani can see energy flows and have revolutionized our ship's power systems." The tall alien made a complex gesture with all four hands. "And this is Narazi Ambassador Thela," Russell said, indicating the nearly human alien with the ridge of spines. "The Narazi are telepathic and serve as our communication specialists and cultural liaisons." Ambassador Thela smiled. "We sense your fear. It is understandable. But we come as friends, united against a common enemy." Defense Minister Ward frowned. "Telepathic? Are you reading our minds right now?" "No," Thela replied. "We only connect when permission is given. It would be rude to do otherwise." Admiral Carter stood up. "Captain Russell, tell us more about these Vraks. What are we facing?" Russell's face darkened. "The Vraks believe they are the rightful rulers of the galaxy. They've existed as a spacefaring empire for over 10,000 years. They see other intelligent species as either threats to eliminate or resources to exploit." He touched a control on his wrist, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed images of massive ships and armored soldiers. "They've destroyed dozens of civilizations," Russell continued. "Their technology is advanced, but not unbeatable. We've successfully fought them off multiple times with the right tactics." Dr. Russell Martins studied the hologram. "These ship designs, they're similar to some ancient artifacts we found on Mars and Europa. Could the Vraks have visited our solar system before?" "It's possible," said Science Director Azura. "They claim to have seeded worlds with life forms they later harvest." The council members exchanged worried glances. "What can you offer us?" President Garcia asked bluntly. "Our fleet is already mobilizing, but from the first battle reports, we're outmatched." Captain Russell nodded to Chief Engineer Xel, who stepped forward with a small device. The four-armed alien placed it on the table, and it projected technical schematics. "Shield technology that can withstand Vraks energy weapons," Russell explained, "and targeting systems designed to find weaknesses in their hull design. We're prepared to help upgrade your ships immediately." President Garcia looked around the table. Most council members still seemed unsure. "I say we accept their help," Admiral Carter said firmly. "We need every advantage we can get." "I agree," added Dr. Russell Martinez. "The data matches everything my great-grandmother theorized about advanced propulsion and shield systems." President Garcia stood. "Very well. Captain Russell, your crew and allies are authorized to begin work with our fleet engineers, but you'll remain under observation. Trust must be earned." Russell nodded. "Understood, Madam President. We won't let you down." As the meeting ended, Lieutenant Commander Grant whispered to Russell, "They're still not sure about us." They'll come around, Russell replied quietly. They have to. The Vracs will be here soon, and Earth needs to be ready. Jupiter Command buzzed with activity. Engineers and scientists worked day and night to upgrade Earth's fleet with the new technology from the Defiant. In the main engineering lab, Dr. Russell Martinez stood next to Chief Engineer John Winters from the Defiant. They examined the glowing blue shield emitter on the table. The energy pattern is unlike anything we've developed, Dr. Russell Martinez said. Her eyes reflected the blue glow as she studied the device. Winters nodded. The Sover showed us how to create it. It generates a layered field that can absorb Vrax weapons fire much better than standard shields. How soon can we install them on our ships? She asked. With your fabrication systems, we can outfit 20 ships a day. But training your engineers to maintain them will take longer. Across the station, Captain Russell sat alone in a quiet room. He watched old video recordings on a screen. The face of Samantha Russell looked back at him. She was older in each message, her hair gradually turning from brown to silver. "Alan, it's been 10 years today," she said in one recording. "I still believe you're out there somewhere. I've developed a new sensor array based on wormhole theory. The Space Defense Initiative thinks I'm crazy, but they're still funding my research." Russell wiped away a tear. He had missed her entire life. He had loved her so much, and now she was gone. The door opened, and Dr. Russell Martinez entered. "Captain, I hope I'm not interrupting." "No, please come in," he said, quickly composing himself. "I was just getting to know her through these recordings." Dr. Russell Martinez sat beside him. "She never gave up on you. Her work laid the foundation for much of our current technology. She would be amazed to see you now." "I wish I could have said goodbye," Russell said softly. In the training center, Lieutenant Commander Grant worked with Earth's fighter pilots. They used simulators to practice battle tactics against virtual Vrax ships. "Their weak point is here," Grant explained, pointing to a spot on the holographic enemy vessel, between the main engine and the weapons array. "Hit it with concentrated fire." A young pilot named Jack Monroe raised his hand. "But their ships move so fast. How do we target such a small area?" "The Narazi have taught us to predict their movement patterns," Grant replied. "They follow specific attack routines. Once you learn to recognize them, you can anticipate where they'll be." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Stephen Morris watched the Defiant crew carefully. As Jupiter Command's security chief, he didn't trust these newcomers, especially not the aliens. He followed Chief Engineer Cell through the station corridors, keeping his distance. When Cell entered a restricted area, Morris moved quickly to confront him. "This section is off-limits," Morris said firmly, his hand resting on his sidearm. The four-armed alien turned slowly. "I apologize. Admiral Carter asked me to examine your station's power systems. I must have taken a wrong turn." Morris wasn't convinced. "I'll escort you back to your assigned area." Later, Morris approached Captain Russell in the officers' mess hall. "Captain, a word." Russell nodded, and they moved to a quiet corner. "I noticed something during your medical exam," Morris said quietly. "The doctor's report mentions unusual implants in your nervous system. Care to explain?" Russell sighed. "After we were injured in a battle with the Vrax, the Xilani offered their medical technology. These implants help us heal faster and enhance our reflexes. They're not harmful or controlling, if that's what you're worried about." Morris frowned. "How much of you is still human, Captain?" Before Russell could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. "All personnel to battle stations," came Admiral Carter's voice over the speakers. "Vrax ships have been detected entering the Mars orbital zone. This is not a drill." Russell and Morris raced to the command center. On the main screen, they saw 3 Vrax warships approaching Mars colony. Earth ships moved to intercept, but they were outnumbered. "The colony has 15,000 civilians," Admiral Carter said grimly. Captain Russell stepped forward. "The Defiant is ready. Admiral, let us help." Carter hesitated only a moment. Permission granted. Save those people, Captain. As Russell hurried to his ship, Morris called after him. Prove which side you're really on, Captain. Russell didn't look back. The time for talk was over. Now they would let action speak. The Defiant shot through space like a silver bullet. Its engines glowed with an otherworldly blue light as it raced toward Mars. Inside, Captain Russell sat in the command chair. His crew, both human and alien, worked at their stations with practiced speed. 3 Vrax warships approaching Mars colony, reported Lieutenant Commander Grant. They're already firing on the defense platforms. Time to intercept? Russell asked. 2 minutes, replied the helmsman. Russell opened a channel to all decks. Battle stations. This is what we trained for. On Mars, buildings shook as Vrax energy beams struck the colony's shields. People ran for underground shelters. Defense cannons fired back, but their shots barely scratched the Vrax ships. The colony commander watched in horror as the shields weakened. They won't hold much longer. Then his communications officer called out, "Sir, unknown ship approaching at high speed." The Defiant burst into view, its modified engines pushing it faster than any Earth ship. "It's the Defiant," someone shouted. The Vrax ships immediately turned their attention to the newcomer. They recognized the ship that had caused them so much trouble in distant parts of the galaxy. On the lead Vrax vessel, High Commander Krezek hissed in anger. His scaled face twisted into a snarl. "The human warship," he growled to his officers. "The one that destroyed our base at Velnar Prime. How did it reach this system?" His weapons officer awaited orders. "Destroy it," Krezek commanded. "Priority target." All 3 Vrax ships fired on the Defiant, but instead of trying to dodge, the Earth ship flew straight toward them. "Shields holding at 90%, reported Chief Engineer Winters on the Defiant. Russell nodded. "Return fire. Target their forward weapon arrays." The Defiant's weapons, a mix of human and alien technology, fired with precision. Bright beams struck the first Vrax ship exactly where Grant had shown the Earth pilots to aim. The enemy vessel shuddered as explosions rippled along its hull. "Direct hit," Grant announced. Back at Jupiter Command, Admiral Carter and the Earth Defense Council watched the battle on their screens. "1 ship against 3, murmured Dr. Russell Martinez. "Can they win?" Lieutenant Morris stood nearby, his eyes fixed on the display. "If they can, maybe I was wrong about them." The Defiant danced between enemy fire, moving with impossible speed and grace. It struck again and again, each shot finding a vulnerable spot on the Vrax ships. The first enemy vessel exploded in a ball of fire. The other 2 continued firing, but the Defiant's shields held. On Mars, people came out of hiding to watch the battle through colony windows. They cheered as the second Vrax ship lost power and drifted, disabled. High Commander Krezek snarled as warning lights flashed across his bridge. His ship was the only one still fighting. "This is not possible," he raged. "1 ship cannot defeat a Vrax battle group." He opened a communication channel. "Captain of the human vessel, I know you. You have interfered with Vrax expansion for too long." Russell's face appeared on Krezek's screen. "High Commander, your attacks on peaceful worlds end today." Krezek laughed, a harsh sound. "This is merely the beginning. The main Vrax fleet approaches Earth even now. Hundreds of ships, not just 3. You have won nothing." Russell's expression remained calm. "Then we'll be ready for them too." Krezek slammed his fist down. "The Vrax Empire spans thousands of worlds. You cannot hope to." His words were cut short as the Defiant fired 1 final shot. Krezek's ship erupted in flames. At Mars Colony, people cheered wildly as the last Vrax ship exploded. The Defiant had saved them all. But the celebration was short-lived. An emergency transmission came from Earth. "Captain Russell." Admiral Carter's voice was grim. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive Vrax fleet at the edge of our solar system. At least 200 ships, heading straight for Earth. Russell exchanged looks with Grant and the alien crew members. "We'll return immediately," he said. "And Admiral, we'll need every ship you have. This is the real battle, the battle for Earth." As the Defiant turned toward Earth, the crew knew the true test was yet to come. The fight at Mars was just a skirmish. The war was about to begin. Earth filled the view screen of the Defiant as the ship took its position at the front of humanity's fleet. Behind it, 70 Earth warships formed a defensive line. They were humanity's last hope against the approaching Vrax armée. Captain Russell stood on the bridge, looking at the faces of his crew. They had fought the Vrax for 15 years across distant stars. Now they would make their stand here, at humanity's home. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Grant. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed concern. On the main screen, the first Vrax ships appeared. Their dark hulls blocked the stars as they moved into formation. More appeared behind them, then more. Soon the screen was filled with enemy vessels. "There are too many," whispered an Earth officer on the comm channel. "Numbers aren't everything," Russell replied. "We have something they don't expect." He nodded to Science Director Azira. The blue-skinned alien had been working with Dr. Russell Martinez on a secret project. "Ready, Captain," Azira confirmed. Russell opened a channel to all Earth ships. "This is Captain Russell. Remember your training. Target the weak spots we identified. Stay in formation. And when I give the signal, activate the new shield frequencies." The Vrax fleet launched its first attack wave. Hundreds of smaller fighter ships swarmed toward Earth's defenders. "Fire at will," ordered Russell. The space between the fleets filled with energy beams and explosions as the battle began. Earth ships fought bravely, using the tactics the Defiant crew had taught them. They scored many hits, but there were simply too many enemy ships. Aboard the Vrax command ship, High Commander Vrelak watched with satisfaction. Unlike Krezek, he was cautious and methodical. "The human defenders fight well," he observed, "but they cannot win. Prepare the planet killer weapon." Back on the Defiant, Lieutenant Commander Grant monitored the battle. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the Vrax flagship. It matches the signatures we saw at Tolaris IV." Russell's face hardened. "They're preparing to use the planet killer." He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "Dr. Russell Martinez, is the planetary shield ready?" On Earth, Dr. Russell Martinez stood in a massive underground facility. Around her, technicians worked frantically at control panels. "Almost," she replied. "We need 5 more minutes." "You don't have 5 minutes," Russell said grimly. "We need to buy you time." He turned to his crew. "We're going in." The Defiant broke formation and accelerated toward the heart of the Vrax fleet. Earth officers watched in awe as the single ship charged into hundreds of enemy vessels. "What are they doing?" Admiral Carter asked. Lieutenant Morris, who had joined Earth Command, watched the display. "They're sacrificing themselves to save us." The Defiant weaved through enemy fire, taking hit after hit. Its shields glowed bright blue as they absorbed the energy. "Shields at 40%, reported Chief Engineer Winters. "Keep going," Russell ordered. "Get us as close to their flagship as possible." As they approached the massive Vrax command ship, Russell nodded to Azira. "Now." The science director activated a device at her station. A swirling blue light appeared in front of the Defiant. A miniature wormhole. "All hands brace for jump," Russell called. The Defiant plunged into the wormhole, vanishing from normal space. Seconds later, it reappeared inside the Vrax formation, directly beside the flagship. Before the Vrax could react, Lieutenant Commander Grant led a team in specially designed suits. They launched from the Defiant and boarded the enemy flagship. 30 seconds to planet killer activation, warned Winters. On Earth, Dr. Russell Martinez made the final connections. Planetary shield activating now. A shimmering blue field spread from generators around the planet, forming a protective bubble. Just as the Vrax flagship fired its planet-killer weapon, Grant's team reached its power core. They planted charges and retreated to the Defiant. The flagship exploded in a blinding flash. The planet-killer beam dispersed harmlessly against Earth's new shield. Without their flagship and main weapon, the Vrax fleet fell into disarray. Earth ships pressed their advantage, destroying dozens of enemy vessels. The remaining Vrax ships retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speed. Earth had won. Days later, Captain Russell stood before the Earth Defense Council. His ship was damaged but repairable. His crew had suffered losses but had prevailed. "You saved Earth," President Garcia said simply. "We owe you everything." Russell shook his head. This was just one battle. The Vrax will return, but we don't have to face them alone. He gestured to his alien crew members. There are other races who fight against the Vrax Empire. Other worlds seeking allies.